And it's PLB with MLB News, back with another video. And in today's video is going to be my 2020 MLB All-Star Game predictions if there was an All-Star Game this year. Now, the All-Star Game this year was supposed to be in LA, where the Dodgers played Dodger Stadium. And obviously it's not happening this year. Shortened season, all that. And we're officially halfway through the season, a sentence that I never thought I would say. But we're going to go through every team and give their All-Star candidates and which players make the All-Star Game. So if you like this kind of content, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to get notified whenever I upload a video. Link to my other channels in the description below. Let's try to get this video to 9 likes, and let's go ahead and get into this video. So first is the Baltimore Orioles. And they've been a surprise team so far this season. So one of their All-Stars that could potentially be in the All-Star Game is going to be Hanser Alberto. So far this season, he has 2 home runs, 13 RBIs, and a .306 batting average. 34 hits, 18 runs, and 111 at-bats, 26 games. Next is Rio Eures. And Rio Eures this year has 6 home runs, 12 RBIs, and a .200 batting average. Next one is Anthony Santana, who has been great to start off the season. And he has 9 home runs and 25 RBIs so far this season with a .292 batting average. Next one is Pedro Severino. He has 5 home runs, 19 RBIs, and a .324 batting average so far this season. And the last one is Jose Iglesias, who has 0 home runs, 10 RBIs, and a .400 batting average so far this season. And for the Orioles, they've got 5 different players that could be on the All-Star team. They've been good so far this season. No pitchers because their pitching really hasn't been great. And, yeah. Next for the Boston Red Sox, they've been a very disappointing team so far this season. Oh, and there will be 1 player from each team in the All-Star Game. That's always how it is, so we're going to keep that straight. Keep that in 2022. So for the Boston Red Sox, they have 1 player only, and that's going to be Mitch Moreland, who started off the season very well. He's got a .360 batting average, 7 home runs, and 17 RBIs. He does strike out a little bit with 12 strikeouts, but he's still a good player and the best on the Red Sox so far. Next is the New York Yankees, and they have 2 different candidates who could be on the All-Star team. Obviously, one is their big pickup in the offseason, Garrett Cole. So far this season, he's got 6 games started, 1 complete game, 36 innings, 26 hits given up, 11 earned runs, 44 strikeouts, 4 wins, 0 losses, and a 2.75 ERA. And the other one is Luke Voigt, who has 10 home runs and 20 RBIs so far this season with a .311 batting average. So he's been good to start the season as well. And I would like to say that Aaron Judge will be on here too. Even though he is injured right now, he'll be on here. He has 9 home runs and 20 RBIs and a .290 batting average. I definitely think he was the AL MVP if he stayed healthy the whole season, and he didn't. Next is the Tampa Bay Rays, who currently lead the AL East. And just like I predicted. And 1 for them is Brandon Loeb. He will be their only hitter. He's got 9 home runs and 24 RBIs to start the season with a .326 batting average. There's no way you cannot put him on the All-Star team. And the other 2 are pitchers. Blake Snell being one, who has a 3 ERA and 2 wins and 0 losses. So the ERA is probably not too great, but he's been very good so far. Then the last one is Nick Anderson, who has been good to start the season. Also, he's got a 0 ERA so far, 3 saves, 1 win, 0 losses. So he's been good to start the season as well. Next is the Blue Jays. And the Blue Jays are a team that has started off the season pretty slow. Vlad Guerrero has started off the season slow. Bo Bichette did. He's on the IL right now. So theirs is kind of hard to figure out, but I went with Kevin Biggio for them. Ryu hasn't been great either. 6 home runs and 14 RBIs to start the season, 3 stolen bases, and a .270 batting average. So he's been decent, not anything special. Next is the Chicago White Sox, who actually have a lot of All-Stars because that could potentially be on the All-Star team because they've been hitting well. First one is Jose Abreu. 7 home runs and 23 RBIs to start the season with a .297 batting average. Next is Yoan Moncada. 5 home runs and 15 RBIs to start the season with a .266 batting average. Next candidate is Eloy Jimenez. 9 home runs and 20 RBIs to start the season with a .295 batting average. And next one is the rookie Luis Robert. 6 home runs, 15 RBIs to start the season with a .275 batting average. So, very good. And Yasmani Grandal, who has 2 home runs and 12 RBIs to start the season with a .235 batting average. So, he's not been great, but there's not many great catchers in the American League. James McCann's really been better, to be honest. And their one pitcher is going to be Dallas Keuchel, who has a .265 ERA, 6 games started, 4 wins, 2 losses. Next is the Minnesota Twins. Their one All-Star batter that is a candidate is Eddie Rosario. He's got 6 home runs and 19 RBIs to start the season with a .219 batting average. And their one pitcher is Kenta Maeda. Kenta Maeda has been good to start the season. He's got a .227 ERA, 5 games started. And, yeah, he's been good to start the season. And 3 wins, 0 losses. Next is the Cleveland baseball team. They have 5 potential players that could be All-Stars. Jose Ramirez being one. And Francisco Lindor is not one of them, because he really hasn't started off the season very well. 5 home runs and 18 RBIs to start the season for Jose Ramirez and a .230 batting average. Next is Franmil Reyes, who has a .297 batting average, 6 home runs and 18 RBIs to start the season. And they have 3 pitchers. Shane Bieber has to make it. He's been great to start the season. A 1.11 ERA, 5 wins, 0 losses, 6 games started. You've got Mike Clevenger, who has missed a couple starts due to him breaking the protocols. He probably deserves it. 3.24 ERA, 1 win, 1 loss, 3 games started. And the last one is Adam Civale. 2.91 ERA, 5 games started, 3-2 record. So the Indians, they have a lot of good pitchers so far. Next is the Kansas City Royals, who they have 1 All-Star and 1 All-Star only, and that has to be Whit Merrifield, who is really good, and I don't blame him if he requests a trade at the trade deadline. Currently, he has an average of .313, 5 home runs, and 18 RBIs, so he's been very good to start the season. For the Detroit Tigers, this is a tough team because they're not a good team this season. And their one is pretty obvious, and that's Jacoby Jones, who got off to a hot start. 5 home runs, 13 RBIs to start the season, and a .284 batting average. Next is the LA Angels, and they have 3 All-Star candidates. One being Mike Trout. You have to put Mike Trout on this list. He is the front runner for AL MVP. 10 home runs, 22 RBIs, and a 283 batting average. You've got Anthony Rendon, their new pickup in the offseason. 6 home runs, 16 RBIs, and a 321 batting average. He's really started to get off to a good start recently. And you've got Dylan Bundy, who has surprised everybody so far this season. With a 2.48 ERA, 3 wins, 2 losses in 5 games. So he's been good. It would definitely help if that. It would definitely help Dylan Bundy's case for an All-Star if they didn't have a terrible rotation. Next is the Houston Trash Can Bangers. And they have 2 pitchers, and that's going to be Zack Greinke. And he has a 193 or 184 ERA, 5 games started, 1 win, 0 losses. And Framber Valdez, who has been really good to start the season. 172 ERA, 2 wins, 2 losses, so he's been good to start the season. None of their batters have really been good. Altuve, Bregman, Correa, none of those have really been good. Next is the Seattle Mariners, and they have 2 All-Star candidates. Kyle Lewis, obviously, he's been great to start the season. 6 home runs, 18 RBIs, and a 358 batting average. Next is Kyle Seager, and he has a 292 batting average, 5 home runs, and 22 RBIs on the season. Next is the Rangers. They've got 2 pitchers. Lance Lynn being 1. 3 wins, 0 losses, and a 1.37 ERA. Definitely will be on the All-Star team. And Jonathan Hernandez, who has been good. 1.84 ERA, 3 wins, 0 losses. He's been great in the 8th inning for the Rangers specifically. Rafael Montero has been good in the 9th inning, even though stats don't prove it. And he's got a 4.26 ERA, 0 wins, and 1 loss, which is kind of interesting to me because he's pitched good every time I've seen him pitch. Next is the Oakland Athletics. They've got 2 candidates as well. 1 hitter and 1 pitcher. Matt Chapman's their first one. 8 home runs, 20 RBIs, and a 248 batting average. And I would like to say quickly, Matt Olson is not on here because looking at his stats, he has a 175 batting average, 9 home runs, and 19 RBIs to start the season. That's not good enough. His batting average is not good enough for me. And a 780 OPS, that's just not good enough. Simple. And so that is the AL, and let's go ahead and get to the rosters. So the American League All-Star Game roster. Your pitchers, you've got Dylan Bundy from the LA Angels. Lance Lynn from the Texas Rangers. Zack Greinke from the Houston Trash Can Bangers. Liam Hendricks from the Oakland Athletics. Shane Bieber from the Cleveland Indians. Nick Anderson from the Tampa Bay Rays. Jonathan Hernandez from the Texas Rangers. Blake Snell from the Tampa Bay Rays. Kenta Maeda from the Minnesota Twins. Dallas Keuchel from the Chicago White Sox. Adam Silva from the Cleveland Indians. And Mike Clevinger from the Cleveland Indians. Framber Valdez from the Houston Astros. And Garrett Cole from the New York Yankees. The catchers, you've got 2 catchers. You've got Yasmani Grandal, who really hasn't started off the season great, and Pedro Severino. The infielders, you've got Mitch Moreland, Jose Iglesias from the Baltimore Orioles, Luke Voigt from the New York Yankees, Kevin Biggio from the Toronto Blue Jays, Whit Merrifield, who can play the outfield too if he needs to, from the Kansas City Royals, Anthony Rendon from the LA Angels, Kyle Seager from the Seattle Mariners. And the outfielders, you've got Mike Trout, obviously, from the LA Angels. You've got Franmil Reyes from the Cleveland Indians. You've got Anthony Santana from the Baltimore Orioles. Aaron Judge from the New York Yankees, Brandon Loeb from the Tampa Bay Rays, Luis Robert from the Chicago White Sox. It was between him and Eloy Jimenez, and I decided that he had the better stats. Kyle Lewis and Jacoby Jones. So the AL starting lineup, the pitcher right now, the starting pitcher, is probably going to be Shane Bieber. He's been great to start the season. It's Bieber or Lynn. Their catcher is going to be Yasmani Grandal. Even though Pedro Severino has got off to a good start, I think we can all agree that Yasmani Grandal is the better catcher. First base is Mitch Moreland. Second base is Whit Merrifield. Shortstop is Jose Iglesias. Third baseman is Anthony Rendon. Outfielders are Mike Trout, Brendan Lowe, and Aaron Judge. And maybe there are some weird players that are in the starting lineup here, like Mitch Moreland, because there's really not another first baseman that's been great in the AL besides Luke Voit, and maybe you could put Luke Voit there. I went with Mitch Moreland. With Merrifield at second base, shortstop is Jose Iglesias, third base is Anthony Rendon, and the outfielders are Trout, Lowe, and Judge. Now to the National League. And we'll start off with the Atlanta Braves. They've got 4 different All-Star candidates. Travis d'Arnaud being one who has started off the season very, very good for the Braves. 4 home runs and 17 RBIs to start the season with a .344 batting average. You've also got Freddie Freeman, who has got off to a really good start just as of lately. 4 home runs and 14 RBIs and a .292 batting average. You've also got Dansby Swanson, who has been good, really filled that role since Acuna's been on the IL. 3 home runs and 16 RBIs and a .301 batting average. And Max Fried, because Max Fried has really been leading the Atlanta Braves rotation, especially since Soroka is out. 1.32 ERA and 4 wins and 0 losses. He's been great. Yeah, he definitely should be an All-Star. And it definitely should be in the Cy Young race the way he's playing right now. Next is the Philadelphia Phillies, and they have one hitter, obviously JT Realmuto, who has went off to start the season. 8 home runs and 21 RBIs so far this season with a .289 batting average. And for pitchers, they have Aaron Nola, who has a 3.10 ERA. That really went up from yesterday's game versus the Atlanta Braves. Alex Baum didn't help him any yesterday. 2 wins, 2 losses. And you've got Zach Wheeler. Mets fans, I'm sure you're not too happy that you gave him up for nothing. 3 wins, 0 losses to start the season with a 2.81 ERA, so he's been great to start the season, I think. A lot better than you could expect from a number 2. Maybe number 3 you could argue, with, depending on how Jake Arrieta does. Next is the Marlins, and I know they've started off the season hot, but they don't really have one definite all-star, but I went with Brian Anderson, who has 4 home runs and 15 RBIs to start the season with a .227 batting average. And this one was kind of confusing with them spending all that time off with the outbreak of COVID. Next is the New York Mets, who have some COVID positives right now. 6 home runs. Dominic Smith is one of theirs. 6 home runs and 21 RBIs and a .323 batting average to start the season. I think he's been really good to start the season. And obviously, the best pitcher in baseball, Jacob deGrom, is also on here. Who has a 1.93 ERA, 2 wins, 0 losses. And next is the Washington Nationals. And this is a player that has not played the whole season due to him testing positive for COVID. But that is Juan Soto. 7 home runs, 16 RBIs, and a .392 batting average. He has been going off recently. Really, ever since he came back, he's went off. I think he can still be the NL MVP this year. Next is the Cincinnati Reds. They have 2 pitchers and 2 hitters. Jesse Winker is their first player. 6 home runs and 10 RBIs so far this season with a 328 batting average. And you've also got Nicholas Castellanos, who has a 9 home runs and 20 RBIs so far this season with a .250 batting average. And the two pitchers are their main two in the starting rotation, and that is Sonny Gray. 6 games so far this season, 4-1 record with a 2.21 ERA. And Trevor Bauer, obviously, he's been great to start the season. 4 games started, 3 wins, 0 losses, and an 0.68 ERA. I think he probably will be the NL. If there was an All-Star game, the NL starter. Next, for the Cardinals, this is also a tough team because they were out for 2 weeks with COVID positives. So, for them, it's kind of tough, but I went with Paul Goldschmidt. He's not been... I mean, his stats aren't great. I mean, his batting average is, he's got a .333 batting average, 2 home runs and 5 RBIs. It was kind of tough for this team, but I went with Paul Goldschmidt. Next is Colin Moran for the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pirates are bad this season. And the only bright spot has been Colin Moran so far this season. 6 home runs and 10 RBIs so far this season with a .237 batting average. Next is the Milwaukee Brewers. And they have one player and one player only that for the next few years at least will be on the All-Star game every year, and that is Josh Hader. 5 saves so far this season, a 0.00 ERA, 0 wins, 0 losses so far this season. And for the Cubs, they have one player and one player only. And it's not Anthony Rizzo, it's not Javier Baez, and it's not Chris Bryant. It is Yu Darvish, who has been great to start this season. He has a 1.80 ERA, 4 wins, 1 loss in 5 games. Next is the LA Dodgers, and they have 2 pitchers and 2 hitters. Kenley Jansen is their first. He's looking like prime Kenley Jansen so far this season with an 0.79 ERA, 7 saves, and 0 wins and 0 losses. And they've also got Clayton Kershaw, who's been good to start the season. 2.25 ERA, 3 wins, 1 loss in 4 games. And their 2 hitters are Corey Seager, 294 batting average and 6 home runs and 19 RBIs. And obviously their new pickup, Mookie Betts, who has 9 home runs, 21 RBIs, and a 294 batting average. Cody Bellinger does not make this list, and I'll go ahead and prove why. He's just not been too great to start the season. 6 home runs, 15 RBIs, and a 206 batting average. Now, I know 6 home runs and 15 RBIs is pretty good, but it's just not good enough because of his batting average. Next is the Diamondbacks' Merrill Kelly. And the Diamondbacks, they started off the season very slow. And their pitching, obviously, Robbie Ray, no. Madison Bumgarner, no. Luke Weaver, definitely not. Zach Gallen's been good. Their hitting's really not been great. Nothing that's just like, yep, he's on the All-Star team. But it's going to be Merrill Kelly, who has 5 games started, 3 wins, 2 losses, and a 2.59 ERA. So he's been good to start the season. Probably the best pitcher on the Diamondbacks so far, which is kind of sad because I predicted them to make the playoffs. Next is the Colorado Rockies, who have surprised a lot of people, including myself, so far this season. They've got 3 hitters and 1 pitcher that is a candidate for the All-Star game. They've got Nolan Arenado is one who's been good so far. And he has 7 home runs, 15 RBIs so far this season with a 224 batting average. I know his batting average is a little low, but he's still definitely been good to start the season. 7 home runs, 16 RBIs, and a 290 batting average for Trevor Story, who's another candidate that could be on the All-Star team. And Charlie Blackmon has to be on the All-Star game. 3 home runs, 24 RBIs, and a 417 batting average so far this season. And the last player is a pitcher, obviously, Kyle Freeland, who has, in 5 games, has a 2-1 record with a 2.56 ERA. Now, I know German Marquez has started off the season good as well, but he really had a bad outing yesterday, especially versus the Houston Astros. Maybe they're still banging on trash cans. Who knows? 4.38 ERA, 2 wins, 4 losses. So, not great. Not good enough to make the All-Star team. The next team is the San Diego Padres, who have 1 hitter and 1 pitcher. Now, you already can guess the hitter. It's not much of a surprise. Fernando Tatis. 12 home runs and 29 RBIs to start the season with a .313 batting average and a 1.085 OPS. That is great start to the season. And their pitcher that is a candidate is going to be Chris Paddock, who has a 4.26 ERA, 2 wins, 2 losses. He's been pretty good, I would say. And the last team is the San Francisco Giants, and I know their team's been good, or better than expected to start the season. But let's be honest, Belt's not an all-star, Crawford's not an all-star, Longoria's not an all-star. Maybe you could say Solano. I don't think so, and here's my reasons why. I know he's got a .375 batting average, 1 home run and 15 RBIs. Okay. I think there's a lot better players so far this season, in my opinion. But the one all-star for them, I know Johnny Cueto kind of did start off the season a little bit. We'll get into his stats in a minute. But is Mike Kistrimski. 6 home runs and 21 RBIs so far this season with a .320 batting average. He's been great to start the season. I think he definitely has to be the lone all-star for the Giants. Johnny Cueto has a 4.35 ERA, 2 wins, 0 losses. You've also got Samardzija in that rotation, who has a 9.88 ERA and 0 wins and 2 losses. You've also got Tyler Anderson there, who has a 4.84 ERA, 0 wins, 1 loss. And you've got Logan Webb, also 3.29 ERA, 2 wins, 2 losses. Still not good enough to make an all-star team. I think it's mostly a fluke, or it's just luck, I would say. In my opinion, it's luck. And yeah, that's why those pitchers do not make the all-star team. Now, let's go ahead and get to the NL roster. The pitchers, you've got Chris Paddock of the San Diego Padres, Kyle Freeland of the Colorado Rockies, Walker Buehler of the LA Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw of the LA Dodgers, Kenley Jansen of the LA Dodgers, Yu Darvish of the Chicago Cubs, Josh Hader of the Milwaukee Brewers, Trevor Bauer of the Cincinnati Reds, who will be the All-Star Game starter, Jacob deGrom of the New York Mets, Aaron Nola is not going to be on the All-Star team, Zach Wheeler of the Philadelphia Phillies, and you've got Max Fried of the Atlanta Braves, Morel Kelly of the Arizona Diamondbacks, just because they do have to have one All-Star, and he's the All-Star. And you've got, you've also got Sonny Gray. For the catchers, you've got 2 catchers. You've got JT Realmuto and Travis d'Arnaud. Both have been good to start the season. And the infielders, you have Freddie Freeman, obviously, Dansby Swanson, Brian Anderson, Paul Goldschmidt, Colin Moran, Fernando Tatis, Corey Seager, Trevor Story, Dominic Smith, and Nolan Arenado, and Marte. Ketel Marte for the Diamondbacks. Yeah, it's Ketel Marte for the Diamondbacks. So that means that Morel Kelly will not be on the All-Star pitchers list. And yeah, their outfielders for the All-Star game will be Mike Yastrzemski, Juan Soto, Nicholas Castellanos, Jesse Winker, Mookie Betts, and Charlie Blackmon will be the 6 outfielders. And for the starting lineup for the NL, the starting pitcher will be Trevor Bauer of the Cincinnati Reds. The catcher will be JT Realmuto of the Philadelphia Phillies. The first baseman will be Freddie Freeman of the Atlanta Braves. The second baseman will be Ketel Marte. I remember I had to add a second baseman because there was no second baseman on this team. Shortstop, Fernando Tatis, obviously. Third baseman is Nolan Arenado. And the outfielders are Mookie Betts, Charlie Blackmon, and Nicholas Castellanos. So yeah, those are my 2020 MLB All-Star Game predictions. If there was an All-Star Game this year, obviously there's not. But if there was, those are my All-Star Game predictions. Make sure you drop a like on this video. Let's try to get this video to 9 likes. Subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you will get notified whenever I upload a video. Link to my other channels in the description below. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I will be back with more videos soon.